Okay, just okay. Okay, good. Now let's go to one by one. Various documents. Okay, so let me mute this. If anyone have any questions, okay, just you can unmute yourself. Okay. Okay, I guess everyone is good. Okay. Okay, so BRD. So now we talked about this lot. What is BRD? Business requirement document. What exactly it is? It contains use cases. 10 to 20% use cases, and who actually prepares this? A business analyst. Okay, business analyst or product owner actually prepares this document. What exactly is there in this document? Let's a little bit see in this what exactly does that contain. So I'll be giving you access to the Google Drive by end of today. So you'll be having pretty much an idea of those various documents that I'm talking about. Let's go to the testing documents. That is directory number 4. Okay. Business requirements. Go to this directory number 6. Oops. Okay. So let's see this MasterCard BRD. Okay. We have this document. Okay, this is prepared by the business analyst. Okay, here it's pretty long. It's a long document, and you may go through all this. Okay, this is what the BRD looks like. Okay. What does this, what does it contain? It contains 10 to 20% of use cases, budget information, okay, budget analysis, and all this information it contains. Okay, it's a pretty huge document. This here it's 21 pages, but it's not really. It's more than that. Okay. Now, once you look into this, okay, as a tester, you are a tester, right? You are a tester. You are okay, you're not a developer. Even if you are a developer, you won't get all this, because this is not something that you need to understand everything at once. Okay, so you need to understand what is really required for your test cases, what really is required for your testing perspective. That's it. Okay, there's a lot of information here. You may not get at once everything at once. Okay, it's good if you get this everything in one shot. It's good. You're good, but it's really not really important to get all this, because this document is prepared making in sense of so many people. That means who has access all this? As I told you before, Scrum Master, that is project manager, your boss, that is your manager, developer have access to this. They go through this document. Architect people have this, business analysts, of course, they have prepared it, so they will be having a better idea what is going on. And other, so many people, so many developers, so it's a pretty high level document. So what is BRD? BRD is business required document. It's a high level document. Okay. What does it contains? It contains, use cases, contains budget information, budget analysis, and so on. Okay. So as a tester, you may not understand everything, but you want to underline what is really required for your test cases, testing perspective, and your testing. That's it. You really are not required to understand each and everything in this document, right? So this is how BRD looks like. Okay, so there are a lot of things. You have assumptions of what we are trying to do. Okay, and what is actually the business requirement. Okay, and you have okay, so they have this column wise what they are trying to do and what's exactly happening in the back end, and what is the back end criteria, what is the front end criteria. Who knows? There might also be a software information like okay, what software they are using, what are the tools, all this information. Maybe okay, so see, look at this. They also have this functionality of ACH, that is that is checking account or savings account. Okay, how do we build this? All this information is in the BRD. Okay, so that is BRD. So what is BRD? BRD, see, I'm repeating because not all of them are from computer science background, right? So that's the reason I'm repeating. So if you have problem, let me know. Okay, I'll stop repeating it. Okay, business requirement document is a high level document, okay, which is prepared by the business analyst. Okay, it contains 10 to 20% use cases, okay, business budget information, budget analysis, all this, it's a high level document. It contains all the information about the business. Okay, so that is BRD. Okay, next we will go to the next one, FRD. That's called a functional required document. Let's see how it looks like. So we'll just go through a pretty quick simple FRD, functional required document. Okay, so this is what it contains. So, I mean, business required document is high level document. FRD is a little bit specific than that. That is functional requirement. That means it contains functionality and features of an application. Let's see. So this is the requirement. Okay, this is analysis and design. Okay, it's pretty small. Okay, let's see here. So they have, okay, so this is what they are doing and who is the approval guy and all those things. So they have this functional requirement. Okay, the message format. So that you only have this. So based on this, you need to write test cases, right? Okay, so here you have prescriber first name maps to first name. Let's see how can we relate this to our really application. So this is not really a party for this, but we just have a look. Let's see how does this thing looks like. Okay, let's say if I want to compare this with this, they are doing a similar thing, if not same. So this is a little bit healthcare project, healthcare thing, but ours is a retail thing. We are really not in the healthcare, so this is on retail. So this information, look at this first name. That means it has field value. That's good. We have this name and its field value. Okay. You have last name. That's field value. Good. We don't have a slash name, so don't worry about it. Address field value. Good. We have this address. This is a static text. That is address and its field value. Okay. Okay. Good. The similar way you have all this information here. We also have all this, and credit card we have the extra feature, that is credit card number, expiration, and other fields too. This is shipping address. So this is how we can relate. So this is based on this you write the test cases. So you will not be always lucky to have this application ready-made to write a test cases based on this. You may write test cases based on this document. So that's FRD. Okay, so yeah, I know the voice is a little bit low, so I'll talk a little bit louder. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so this is how you can relate to your FRD to this application. Okay, this is not really FRD for this application, but this is you can get you get the picture, right? I mean, this is based on this you need to write your test cases. Okay, it's not always necessary that you have this application ready and based on this you don't write always the test cases. Okay, you will be writing most of the time based on the documents. What documents? FRD. If you are in functional tester, you'll be using FRD. If you're backend tester, you'll be using BRD. BRD is a little bit high level. It's not really. You might use mapping documents. So we'll go through that. Any questions so far? So we'll go to the next one. SRS, that is System Requirement Specification. I mean, this is not really, you really don't use this in all of your testing perspective, but let's quickly check this. So this contains what is SRS? It is System Requirement Specification, which contains information about the system, like what we are supposed to do. Okay, so what all the system, it's a level, high level. It also goes to the server. Okay, so how many server we are using it, how many how many applications are being accessed with this server, and all those things. It contains a lot of information. Let's look at here. contains, okay, design and implementation constraints, user documentation, what are system features, all this is contained in the software requirement specification. Let's pretty much, let's see, let's look at this. It's pretty high level that goes to, server level, and, how many applications are accessing, how many clients we have, how many, how many people will be accessing this, all this information will be contained in the SRS. So technically, you may not always require this SRS document, but it's good to know because you might still require it if you have any questions related to your project, right? So that's the SRS, system requirement specification. Okay. So I'll be giving you access to this Google Drive. You can go ahead and look these documents, understand it, what's, what really they are and what they actually do. Okay, you can just go ahead and look into this. Okay. So let's move to the next topic. There's PDM. So we have PDM, that is physical data model. Okay. So what is PDM? It contains information of, tables. So the table is a physical data, right? I mean, physical data structure. It's a structure actually. Okay, so it contains information about what's there in the table. Okay, what is the primary key, what's the candidate key, what is the reference key, all this information. Let's really quickly check how does that thing looks like. Okay, we have PDM. Okay, good. Okay, so this is a document for PDM. Okay, so what? Say here is the thing. We have all this information in this, like what is the goal of this, and what is structure of this, and what are the constraints, what are the relations. Okay, what are the notations we'll be using for data models? All this information is contained in this PDM. This is physical data model. I don't think this is a good one to, okay, let's see. Okay, good. So there is, see, this is the information. So this contains little bit more detailed information, like, what is the table structure, where the key is going on. Okay, so let me give you one more better example on this. Okay, so here you look at this. Okay, so this is one of the typical examples for PDM, but this is not really PDM. If you want the complete architectural view of this, that is called ER diagram, the entity relationship diagram. So you need to check with database administrator, right? You need to check with the database administrator or the architect guy. Maybe it's better to talk to the architect guy and get the information if you are testing. Okay, so I know I'm going through, you can talk to them like, and I'm going through PDM document. I really found this, and I'm interested in knowing which key is going in where, what is the constraints, and what we are trying to test. Not always, if you want to go into details, maybe you need to check with this and get the ER diagram. So ER diagram is pretty big, and most probably you will be having on a SharePoint. So maybe I don't think even you need to talk to them. You will be having just need to get access. If you don't have one, I'll download this and view this. Nobody is giving you a hard copy these days, so don't even bother asking hard copy. It will be in a SharePoint. Get the access to this. Download it and view this document. So this is called entity relationship diagram. Okay. But this document is completely different from ER diagram. ER diagram is only just this part. It has more detailed explanation and about this keys information. But this it really explains what we are trying to do and what is actually the purpose of this document, right? So that is physical data modeling. We also have LDM. So here we do have LDM. LDM is logical data modeling. Right. So in LDM, let's quickly check this LDM. So it contains information about the views. So PDM contains information about the tables. The view is a logical entity. So it contains information about, it's a similar again to PDM, not really different, but it contains really what we are trying to do with the views. How many views are there, you know, what, why we are using it, how we are using it, how we are doing, all this information, right? It contains in this LDM document. Logical data modeling, it's really not different from PDM, but the only way it differs is, you know, the way you want to look into this views. Okay, so because the views is really a logical entity in a database. Okay, so that's about LDM. Let's go to the next. So you have, okay, next you have HLD, that is high level design documents. Okay, so you know, we'll go just a little bit, you know, in this one. So HLD is kind of, let's say, you know, you're working on some web services project. Okay, you're working on your web services project. Now this web services, right, how this really works is a little bit different. Let's say you're calling in, you know, you're calling to bank, right? You're calling to bank, and when you're trying to call a bank, it really doesn't go to real customer, right? It goes to the flow. Okay, it goes to the flow that you know, what is their account number, you know, what is your PIN, you know, what is your SSN, you know, all those things. Once you input those, you know, those values, it really goes to the next flow. Okay, so that is, you know, really is done through web services. You know, so those are actually the call flows. That means if you give the right answer, which flow it goes, and if you are giving the wrong answer, how does the flow moves to the next flow. So all this is actually designed in a you know, that flow chart. You have this flow chart, right? You remember this flow chart? If it is yes, then it goes to the next flow. If it is no, then it goes to the next flow, and finally you reach the customer care, you know, if you are really lucky. Okay, and then, you know, then you can talk to a real guy, and you know, you find out, okay, so I want to talk to you about this account. So that contains information about HLD. So that's a high level design document. Okay, you already want to, so that's an example. Just, you know, I've just given you an example of a call flow. So that's the call flow. It contains information on the flow chart. Okay, if you're giving a right answer, which flow does it take? If you're giving a wrong answer, which flow it takes? So it's a flow chart. So that's about HLD. Let's move to the next one. TDD. It's a technical design document. So what is exactly technical design document? So if you're working, let's say if you're working an ETL project and you're using a tool, using an AutoSys tool, let's say an AutoSys tool. Okay, because, okay, now you know that you have three environments, right? You have this dev environment, you have test environment. Now, when you want to move your data from dev environment to test environment, you use a tool. Okay, that's not possible just like that, because there's millions of data and you want to transfer all those millions of data very precisely. So you use a tool, AutoSys. Let's take an example, AutoSys. Not, you know, there's a lot of tools, you can use any tool. So that tool, you know, again, there's a little difference, you know, there's a lot of difference, and, you know, the developer codes that, and, you know, use the shell scripts, and a lot of things go down on that. And, you know, there is like a flow of this, which jobs need to kick off, which first, you know, there's a like independent job, a dependent job, and all those things. Okay, so it's kind of flow. It's also kind of flow like HLD, but in this case, you want to make sure which job, you know, you want to kick first, because you don't want to kick a dependent job, because if you're kicking dependent job, then the other jobs will not run. Why you need all this? Because you need to move the data from the, you know, dev environment to test environment, from test environment to production environment. Okay, so that's the reason you need this. So for that, you have this TDD, technical design document, which contains information about, you know, job. Okay, when you want to kick, which job you want to kick, and let's see if I have an example for this. Okay, good. So here we have, luckily we have this example. Okay, so here's the thing. Again, it has a lot of information here. Okay, we'll just look at this. We just need. This is not like exactly the the document which is used for this, but let's see if I find in. Basically, I'm looking for the diagram because this contains a lot of diagrams. Okay, so this not only just the theory about what is going on, but it also contains the diagram. Okay, this is what. Okay, so here you go. So this is what it contains. Okay, so first is this, and once you trigger this, how many jobs are going to trigger automatically with this? And this is really not a good one to explain, but yeah, this is like the state diagram. Okay, you can, kind of this. If you are working in complex project, this is how you do this. Okay, once you do this, once you click on this, the next job kicks automatically, and all lot of things happen. So this is called technical design document. Okay, and it is more useful when you're kicking the jobs to move your data from one environment to another environment. Okay, let's move to the next one, STM. So STM is source to target mapping document. Let's quickly check that. So mapping document. Let's just check this one. Okay, good. So what is mapping document? STM, source to target mapping document. So it is it's a document which contains information about the source information and target information. Okay. When I say this source information, that it means all the information related to this tables, views, keys, and all this information whichever required for the project. Okay, so let's quickly check. What does it contain? What are the columns basically? So here you have this BDW. So BDW is actually business data warehouse. So you have EDW and BDW. BDW business data warehouse. EDW is enterprise data warehouse. Okay, so this is a target column name. So that means you have target column name. So this is what all the data will be going on. Then you have BDW target column data type. So what data type is really that column is? Okay, you want to see this when you're trying to query, write SQL query, right? BDW target PK means it's a primary key. PK is primary key. So if you see here, there is a lot of PKs. That means a lot of primary key. That means this comes under composite primary key. Okay, so nobody tells you that. You need to understand. Okay, because if it contains more than one unique and not null value, then that becomes a composite primary key. Okay. Now nobody in the nowhere in this document says that this contains composite primary key. Okay, good. So you need to look into this and understand what's going on. Okay. And then you have reference table. That's good. So we are done with this target. Okay. Now this you have source. You have source field name. Okay. You have source field data type and mapping document. Sometimes you apply mapping to the source, but really you actually do for the target. As per my opinion, it's just my opinion. I take it like always the mapping should be there, the target. But since they are using this staging area, so staging is taken as a source. So they are applying the source for the mapping. So don't get confused. Mapping can be done anywhere, source or target. Okay. So here they are doing here into the source. Okay. This is what you write the SQL query. So now the SQL query, the complex SQL query will be for the source, not the target. Okay. And then you need to write a query, use some filters, use this primary key, use this, whatever, if it is composite key, use this composite key and write SQL and get your result. Okay. And then you have this information. So this is STM, right? So this is STM. This what is STM? Source to target mapping document. What does it contains? It contains all the information related to the source and target. What information? What is the column? What is the column data type? What is the source column? What is the target column? So on. Okay. What is the primary key? What is the natural key? What if it's OLTP database? OLAP database? A lot of things. Okay. No one will tell you all this. You need to look into this and understand what's going on. Okay. And it's not even easy because you need to really understand a lot to get the information. Okay. So let's move to the next one. Go pretty quick. So that's about STM. Let's go to the next one. Test plan. So give me a second. Okay, so what is the test plan? Test plan is a high-level document prepared by the QA lead. Okay, and what does it contains? It contains information about about the project. Let's quickly check how does that looks like. Oops. Okay, go to this test plan. Oh, you know what? I have this. Very good. Let's quickly check here. Okay, so this is how test plan looks like. Okay, it contains version history. What are the information? See, here is the thing. This is what it contains. Contains all the information. Okay, what type of testing you are doing? In that, how are you approaching it? What are the test pass fail criteria? What is the test suspension? What is the test environment? So on. And what kind of testing you'll be doing: functional testing, load testing, or performance testing, regression testing, stress testing. Okay, so all this information will be there in the test plan because this is how you actually plan. So all this information will be there and it need to be updated by your lead. And you will not be sitting idle. You will be giving inputs when your lead is preparing this. You need to give an input. Okay, so what criteria we need to add in this? That makes that improves the project. Like if you are running into issues, so what are the risks and contingencies you'll be facing it? So all these things you need to give an inputs based on your knowledge and experience. Okay, so you need to update that. Okay, so that's the test plan. So what is a test plan? Test plan is a high-level document prepared by the QA lead, and it contains information about the project, such as testing criteria, what are types of testing. Okay, what kind of teams, how many teams are being tested, and so on. Test strategy document. It's also a high-level document prepared by the QA lead. Okay. So this is a little bit different. Okay, so normally in corporate world, people take the test strategy and test plan is same. Okay, go with the flow. Don't argue with them that no, this is different, that is different. If they are saying the same, maybe they are using the same document for both. But technically, these are not same. Okay, this is a little bit different in the way they plan. They put the project on. Okay, so because the information here, what this contains, it does not contain, because the test plan is how you plan, and this strategy is like how you approach the project. So all the information about so this information doesn't contain in test plan. Responsibility matrix, what are the schedules and resources plans. Okay, so all these things does not contain a test plan. Okay. Otherwise, if if they say that now these both are same, then go with the flow. Don't argue with them. That is different and that is different. Okay. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Test cases, we worked on this test cases. Okay, so what is a test case? Test case is a high-level document prepared by the QA analyst, okay, or the QA tester. What does it contains? It contains information about, okay, what is the step, step actual result, what is the expected result, actual result, test case description, okay, and if you have some information, you can also paste, pass or fail, pass or fail, you want to add some verdict, right? Pass, fail, and a reason, if you have any reason, you can add that. So that is the information that contains in the test cases, okay? So that's a test case. Let's move quickly to this other one. Migration document. So why do we need this migration document? So let's say you're working in upgrading project. Okay, let's say you just went into a project which is they are doing upgradation. Let's say the source is a Teradata and target they are upgrading to Oracle database. Now these two are different database. Okay, and not all of them have the two knowledge on this writing SQL, because the SQL for Teradata is different, the SQL for Oracle is different. So they prepare this migration document so that they want to make sure what data they are trying to migrate, how many sources they are using it, what is the target database they are using it, what are the SQL that we need required for all this information is contained in this migration document. Okay, so that's the reason you need, because the reason, right, because if they hire someone, some guy was working on this for 20 years, now he's no more working. So now that's a really problem, right? Because only that guy is supposed to know both the information, what the source and target contains, but now he's no more. The new guy have no idea on what to do, because the way the project is there, nobody knows. So that's the reason you need this migration. That's one more reason you need migration document, to get some knowledge on the team members who is working on it. Okay. So that's all about these documents. Any questions so far? Okay, so we'll go just pretty quick to the next topic. So by end of today, I'll be giving you access for this Google Drive, so you can have a look. So all these documents are also in the Google Drive, so you can have a look into this document too. Okay, so we'll go to the next topic, that is SDLC process. Okay, so what is SDLC? It's software development lifecycle. And why do we need this? Because we need it because you're not a developer, right? You might argue saying that I'm not a developer, right? I don't need to know this. But you're working in an environment where a lot of changes takes place, a lot of things happen. Okay, so that's the reason you need this SDLC. So SDLC is a framework. Okay, this is not a software. No, give me the access, I'll work on it. So that doesn't work that way. This is something which is a framework. Okay, because this is kind of environment, the process, the way you work in a project. Okay, it's a process. So this is all decided by this management perspective. This is completely management perspective, but since you are in the process, you need to know this. Okay, so let's go pretty quick here. So waterfall methodology is derived from SDLC. Okay, and this is a similar process. Let's quickly check here. Pretty quick. SDLC working. Yes. Okay, so here, if you want to know more information, there is like 10 stages for SDLC. So, if you have time, if you really think this 10 pages is good, you can go ahead and, understand this 10 pages. I'll stick to 6 phases, only 6 phases, what is here. That is requirements, design, implementation, test, installation, and maintenance. So this is a six phases in SDLC model. Okay, so the first thing is why it is called as waterfall model, because the reason why the name is waterfall, this is one way. Waterfall, how it falls, only one way. It doesn't go up to bottom. It just goes from top to bottom. It doesn't go bottom to top, right? There's no way to go. That's how the water flows, right? So that's the reason they name it as waterfall. That means if you find any issue in between, if anything is undone, you need to go back to requirements again, do that same thing, now same process. That's the reason. You cannot fix anything in between. So it has to go, all this process once again to, fix that issue. Okay, so here's the thing. So let's go, pretty quick one by one. So requirements. So what happens in the requirement phase? In a requirement phase, business analyst gathers all the documents. Okay, so this is how we need to be, developing on. So this is the project, and this is what is going on. Okay, so this is the job of a business analyst to, gather all the documents. So here's the document, and then let's go to the next phase in the design. What you do in the design is it's more of an architect level. So the guy who is responsible for the design that application says, okay, so this is how the front end application should look like. This is how the back end, this is how. Okay, so how many tables it has contains, how many columns, all those things are done in the design. And implementation, where the job of a developer starts. The developers start coding it, they start coding it. Okay, so a lot of developers work on this implementation phase. Once it's done, and then tester, here we start testing. Once this testing is done, now you need to coordinate with our middleware team to get this installation. That means our middleware team will be working with the testers or working with the developers to move that code from test environment to production environments. This is how the installation. And if there are any issues, you need to check in the maintenance phase. So starts with business analyst. Okay, then really architect guy, then the developer, and then tester, and there is a senior. Most people with senior developer, or senior tester, or senior leads, all will be working with the installation and maintenance. So my question to you guys is, as a tester, so I'm a tester, right? I'm a tester. Where exactly my job starts from? Can anyone answer? As a tester, where does your job starts from?
The testing phase.
I'm sorry, what?
In testing phase.
Okay, if it is, so my question to you again is, if it starts from testing phase, so do you think all of the stages, 3 stages, will be tester be idle? So do you think client pays you to sitting being idle?
No, they will not hire the tester at the beginning stage.
Right. So, as a tester or as a developer, whoever it is, our job starts right from the requirement phase. Okay. So what exactly we do here? From the requirement phase, you need to, work with the business analyst, get the things done, like which environment we'll be using in, what kind of testing we'll be performing in, are we performing all kinds of testing, or which environment are we also, working on, which environment particularly we'll be using it, because all things are blocked. All those things should be discussed in the requirement phase. Okay, because we also need to find out any issues with the documents. Okay, so this document contains this information, it is incomplete information, or it has information which is really not required. So all this should be, as a job of a tester, you need to figure it out, all those things. Once it's done in the design phase, since when architect guys are working on, we as a tester will start writing test plan document, test strategy document, all those things, you know, we'll be doing in the design phase. We are not idle. Okay. Then let's come to the next implementation phase. So implementation phase, as a software tester, we start writing test cases because let's say, you know, we didn't have enough time, you know, test plan, we only completed test plan, the strategy documents. In the implementation phase, we'll start writing test cases. We are still not idle. Okay. In the test phase, here we start, you know, we start our execution of an application. Okay, here we, I'm sorry, execution of our test cases. We have already written test cases, right? We need to execute in the testing phase. Open the application, open your tool, you know, whatever your tool you're using, or just you're using Excel, whatever you're doing, execute those test cases, see the screenshots, manage the screenshot, put all the results into this. You know, here we do in the testing phase. Now, in the installation phase, you may not always be, you know, allowed here because this is really a little bit a senior guy, you know, this is like lead QA lead or, you know, senior QA tester will be involved in this so that they want to make sure that code is deployed with the, so a lot of coordination with the middleware, coordination with the developer, and, you know, make sure that code is deployed in the production. So that's the installation phase. You need to coordinate with a lot of people. Once that's done, in the maintenance stage, you know, maintenance, again, it's a job more of a senior guy who will be responsible. So if any production issues, now there should not be any production issues in maintenance, okay? Because, you know, testers will get, you know, testers are going to get, you know, they are the first one to, you know, get caught because, you know, maintenance, if there is an issue here, so the question first thing arises is, why it was not tested before, why it's showing in production. Okay, so that's why, you know, there should not be any issues, production issues in the maintenance phase. Okay, so that's how, you know, tester will be involved in all the phases irrespective of any, you know, any testing phase, or, you know, they are involved in all of the phases. Okay, because need to have a lot of meetings, you know, with the business analyst. Okay, so these documents is covered, whatever the other, what are the features we are testing. We have a lot of, already we have a lot of work going on in the pipeline. A lot of things should be discussed. Okay, that should be sorted out in the requirement phase. Okay. So any questions? Okay, so let's move to the next pretty quick. So it has, you know, waterfall has its own advantages and disadvantages. So one of the advantage, what I want to say for the waterfall methodology is where you want to consider quality more important than cost. That's a major, you know, advantage of waterfall, because here you are really working on quality. Okay, so here you know, quality is taking care of it. But in agile, it's other way, where cost is more important than quality. Okay, so here see this. Quality is more important than cost. You know, that's the advantage of, that's really an advantage, because as a tester, I'm hired because to see the quality, right? I'm not worried about cost. No, I'm really not bothered. So that's why, you know, waterfall methodology is good. Okay, so it has disadvantages too. Because one of the disadvantages of waterfall methodology is it takes too long time. Too long time, let's say it's a 6 months project, a lot of things are happening, and because of issues, it got prolonged, you know, now it's taking 8 months. Now client doesn't want to wait that much amount of time, because 8 months is pretty, you know, long time. So that's the reason they move to agile. Agile, you know, 6 months project, squeeze it in 2 months, done. But now nobody's guaranteeing about the quality there, okay, because quality is really seriously in trouble. Okay, in agile, because since you are squeezing a lot of time, 6 months project, it's going on 2 months, you cannot expect a perfect quality there. Okay, so that's the disadvantage of waterfall. It takes too much time. Okay, so okay, so there are different other methodologies too. There's like V-shaped SDLC model. The similar, the process is similar. The same what we have discussed. Okay, so requirement, design, implementation, all this here are similar, but here the only thing is you are doing two things simultaneously. The parallel things. So that's the reason they named it a V-shaped SDLC model. Okay, so that's about the SDLC. Let's go to the next one. So it has its own advantages and disadvantages. Let's move to the next one. You can go through this document. It's in Google Drive. Let me quickly show you pretty quick. So once you go through this, go to the directory number 26th, go to that, and you have all this information here. Okay, so whatever I'm talking about, SDLC is right here. Okay, so you can download or you can use it right there. Just, however you want to use it. So okay, so let's move to the next one. So there is incremental SDLC model. So this is too similar, not same. This has those, again the same stages, but here what is done is verification and validation process is done. So that's about the incremental SDLC model. Okay, so let's move to the next one. So here you have spiral SDLC model. So here the way they have named spiral because it contains 4 quadrants. Okay, you see there's 4 quadrants. One is objectives, the other is issues. Next is next level product and next planning phases. So what they go is like they move spirally. So the process is similar again. The prototype, concept, requirements, design, implement. Similar thing, but here they are moving in quadrant style. So that's why they name it as spiral SDLC model. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, for Agile, I'll be taking the whole class. That will be tomorrow. So we'll go through this Agile completely tomorrow. Yeah. We'll discuss in detail. So what's Agile? So this is a little bit different kind of, this is not really, part of SDLC. It's a part of SDLC, but this is a completely different methodology altogether. Okay. Not really derived from any other methodology, but we'll talk about this. Okay. And this Agile has various sub-modules. They have like Scrum. Okay. There is also XP, Extreme Programming. Then you have Kanban. Okay, so all this. Okay, there's one more feature-driven design. So all this. So we'll discuss mostly about Scrum. Okay, Kanban. I'll go through this. So. So we'll go through this, Agile bit more. Any questions so far? Okay, so let's move to the next topic. So we have done with the SDLC process. So we have seen various SDLC methodology. We have seen waterfall methodology. We have seen incremental SDLC. We have seen helical SDLC. Okay, not really. Spiral SDLC. Okay, so we have gone through a lot of SDLC. So let's move to the next one. That is STLC. That is software testing lifecycle. So we go through this. Okay, so what you exactly do in SDLC, that is software testing lifecycle. SDLC is more related to development style. Okay, so it also includes tester. So you need to know SDLC is more related to testing perspective. Okay, because you cannot go and ask a developer saying that what is SDLC. They will not tell you even if they know, because it's really not their job. SDLC is comes only from this hierarchy. There is QA tester, QA lead, QA manager, QA director. It goes that hierarchy. But as a developer, the architects, developer manager, developer, director. So that kind of hierarchy is completely different. Okay, so here, this is done by the testing people. So, what really they have is, they do test plan preparation. Okay, we already, worked on test plan. That will be, done in the design phase. Okay, then you do this test case design, test execution, and test log preparation. Okay, so we already have this. Let's quickly check in our rally. So, okay, and defect tracking and test report preparation. So this is 5 stages of HTLC. Okay, that is test plan. You prepare, documents, test plan document, test case design, test execution, and test log preparation. Okay, so here if you go to here, the test execution, we have already discussed about this. Let me show you. So here is the thing. So we have executed these test cases, right? Remember? So they are talking about test execution. See this? You have executed this. This is about test execution part. Right? So test plan preparation, we need to prepare this document. So this is a document prepared by the lead, and we'll be giving inputs, and a lot of things are happening. And test case design, we'll be designing a test cases. I've shown you how to write a test cases. Once that's done, we'll move to the test execution and test log preparation. So this is log. Log in sense you have information. Okay, is it failed? Is it passed? Or does it contains documents? Look at this. If you have this document, right? That means it has information. Is it failed or is it passed? All log information is there. So that's test log. And then defect tracking, good. Defect tracking in sense, since you have opened a defect, so you want to track the defect, right? That means which defect is this? You know what? I'm trying to do here. Oops, okay, good. So here this is defect 350. Okay, so that's if you know the defect number, you can track it here. Let's go to here and look at this. A lot of defects. You don't know what you're trying to do. So here you want to put defect 350 and hit enter. Okay, good. So now this is called defect tracking. Okay, you are actually you know the defect ID. You're tracking it, so that's called defect. Right. So next topic is test report preparation. Test report preparation. So this is similar to what we have done. So we have prepared a report, right? Report in sense we have this kind of log, whatever the information what you're putting here. Okay. Let's go to here. So you see this, successfully failed, pass. Okay. So this is more of like report preparation. Okay, so reports, this is the other way. So you can also go ahead and click on this report. Okay, so that's also is actually the test report preparation. Okay, you can prepare iteration burn down, velocity, and all those things you can do. Okay, so that's test report preparation. So that's about testing life cycle. Okay, you can go to this document. Okay. So this is what I was explaining about the hierarchy. Okay. So you have QA. So here's the thing. Your hierarchy, this is what your hierarchy contains. You are QA, software tester, or senior software tester, or QA analyst, and you have lead, QA lead, and upon that you have QA test manager, QA manager, and upon that you have again QA director. Okay, if you know more than that, now you can also add more hierarchies on that. Okay, that's the highest level. Director, reports directly to the CEO. Okay, so QA director, developer. So now IT team. So all this IT team is QA IT director. A lot of if they have a lot of projects, a lot of things. Okay, so they have the specific meaning for that hierarchy. Okay, so that's the roles and responsibilities. Okay, you can go ahead here. So this is what we discussed, defect status. So let me go through again. You know what, when you open this defect, right? You know what, I'll discuss in this in detail. So you have this, when you open a new defect, it is a new, make sure you put in open status, not in submitted status. Once developer fixes it, they change it to fixed. And if you think it's really not fixed, you reopen it. And once again that change it fixed, now you think wrong is there, you have tested it and it's good, change it close. Otherwise, your defect can get rejected by the developer saying that this is not a defect. Okay, so that's about defect status. So we talked about defect severity. Okay, so I'll take 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Is everyone okay? So we'll just finish compliance cycle. Okay. List defects. Okay, good. Okay, so here this is defect life cycle. We are talking about SDLC. We are talking about STLC. This is defect life cycle. Okay, so whenever you open a new defect, the status shows us new, and you're the one, you need to change it to open status. Once you change to open status, you need to assign that defect to whom? To the responsible guy. It might be developer, it might be architect, it might be anyone. Okay, if there is an issue with the document, document guy, a business analyst, and whoever is responsible for this, you need to assign. Once you assign this either get rejected or deferred. Let's say if it is rejected, that means this is not a defect, this is a feature. Okay, they're rejected, think that this is a feature, this is not a defect. Or it can also get deferred. Deferred in sense, let's say developer don't have enough time to work on, so they are moving this into the different sprint or different next project or next cycle or something. Okay, so that means the defect is deferred. Okay, so let's say even if you don't have these issues, once it gets to assign, okay, they change it to fix. Okay, now you need to test it again. Once you test it, if you find really again the issue is showing up, you need to again reopen it. Go to reopen, again you need to follow the step, go to the assign, test until it fixed. Once it fixed, change it to verified, and then you close the defect. So this is defect lifecycle or bug lifecycle. Okay, so Any questions so far? Okay, so this was more of a theoretical point of view. Okay, just have some, just get some idea. So what is this all about, and why do we need this all this life cycle? Okay, once you go through this, you'll understand. So tomorrow, I'll take about agile. So we'll talk about completely one class on agile and what are the terminologies we'll be using it. Why really agile is important. Okay, so we'll just talk about the different modules in agile. Any questions? So if no one have any questions, can we close this class for today?
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys.